Have you ever felt the world slow to the pace of a heartbeat? Not the frantic city rhythm that pounds in your temples, but the deep, resonant, quiet beat of the earth itself, the one you can only hear when everything else has been gently laid to rest. Tonight, you are invited to a place where that heartbeat is the only clock that matters. You are leaving behind the glow of screens, the weight of decisions, the hum of obligations. You are traveling, not with a suitcase, but with a sigh. A long, slow release of all that you carry. With each word, you will feel the distance grow, the noise of the day fading like a town's lights in a rearview mirror, replaced by the profound and welcoming darkness of the ancient woods. Your destination is a place that has been waiting for you. It does not know your name, nor does it need to. It knows only that you seek rest. It is a small, sturdy cabin built a century ago from golden pine logs, nestled in the cradle of a silent mountain valley. A place where the air is cool and crisp, carrying the scent of aged timber, damp earth, and the faint, sweet perfume of last summer's wildflowers lingering in the memory of the soil. You arrive as the last light of a lavender twilight seeps from the sky. The journey here is soft, a blur of winding roads that give way to a narrow path. Your footsteps muffled by layers of fallen pine needles. And then you see it, a simple square silhouette against the deepening blue, a single window glowing with a promise of warmth. The key is cold and heavy in your hand. The lock turns with a satisfying, solid clunk. The door swings inward with a whisper of its hinges. And you are met not just with air, but with atmosphere. It is the scent of wood smoke from fires long past, of wool blankets, of old paper books, and of quiet. It is a quiet that feels like a presence. Soft, fills the space, welcoming you in. You take off your coat. You slip off your shoes. You are home for the night. The main room is a sanctuary of simplicity. A stone fireplace takes up one wall, its mantelpiece worn smooth by time and holding only a few treasures. A smooth river stone, a pine cone, a forgotten feather. A single deep armchair sits before it, draped in a thick knitted blanket, the color of forest moss, a small wooden table, a shelf of books with faded spine. Above, a skylight, a perfect square of gathering darkness, soon to be a portal to the stars. Your only task is to make a fire. It is a ritual, a ceremony to mark the beginning of your vigil of rest. The wood box is full with seasoned logs of rest, aspen and pine. You arrange the kindling, the newspaper, the smaller sticks in the ancient hearth. A ritual learned not from a manual, but from deep human memory. The match strikes with a crisp, bright sound. A tiny explosion of light and sulfur that feels like the first word of an old story. The flame catches, licks at the dry tinder, and begins to grow, curling around the wood with a gentle, hungry affection. You add one log, then another, building a small, stable pyramid of glowing potential. The fire crackles to life, a sound so primal it seems to unlock a chamber in your soul. You place the last log, a beautiful, thick piece of aspen, its bark silvered with age, Atop the structure, it settles with a soft crunch, sending a cascade of golden sparks spiraling up into the dark chimney. You sink into the armchair, pulling the wool blanket over your legs. Heart of the stone. This is the moment. The last log is placed. The door is locked. Outside it is wilderness, and the world inside is this circle of flickering light. The dance of the flames begins to paint the room. Shadow from the fire stretch and shrink along the textured pine walls. They are not frightening shapes, but gentle giants. The shadow of the iron fire poker becomes a tall, still guardian by the hearth. The quivering shadow of a pine branch outside the window becomes a friendly, waving hand. The light washes over everything in a warm orange glow, making the wood grain on the walls seem to flow like liquid honey. You feel your body begin to settle, muscle by muscle, thought by thought. The warmth penetrates your skin, not as a fierce heat, but as a deep, radiating comfort that seems to soften your very bones. Your breathing begins to sync, unconsciously, with the rhythmic pop and sigh of the burning wood. Outside, the night fully arrived. But you are here, in this cradle of light and warmth. The mountain holds you. The cabin shelters you. Watching the flames, let the sounds of the forest become a lullaby. Let the slow, graceful journey of the moon through the skylight be the only plot you need to follow. You are safe. You are warm. You are still. Let us begin the night. The sleep story. The night in the mountain cabin, the last log. The silver-barked aspen has caught the flame fully now. A line of brilliant orange creeps along its underside, a slow-moving lava flow that blackens the wood in its wake and sends up a thin, almost invisible thread of smoke that vanishes into the darker recesses of the chimney. The sound it makes is different from the crackle of the pine. It is a softer, deeper hum, a contented resonance, as if the log is singing a low, warm note from its very core. The initial, eager roar of the newborn fire has passed. It has settled into its purpose. It is no longer building, but simply being. The flames are a unified colony of light, a shifting bouquet of gold. Scarlet at its heart, with tips of lazy, transparent blue that dance without ever seeming to burn. They lean and sway in a slow, hypnotic rhythm, as if listening to a music played far below the earth. A music you can almost feel in the soles of your feet. On the pine wall to your right, the shadow play has entered a gentle phase. The fierce, leaping shapes have softened into a slow, liquid undulation. The pattern of the log wall, each round, grooved trunk fitted snugly against its neighbor, becomes a canvas. The firelight highlights the deep, rust-red bark here. sinks into the velvety black groove of a shadow there, making the wall seem to breathe in and out with a life of its own. If you unfocus your eyes just slightly, the wall ceases to be a wall and becomes a forest floor seen from a great height. A topography of ridges and valleys painted in warm light. A soft pop from the hearth makes your eyelids, which had grown heavy, flutter for a moment. A tiny pocket of sap in a pine log, trapped for years, has been warmed to bursting. It is a bright, harmless sound, like a distant sea pod opening. It releases a brief, sweet fragrance into the air. The memory of sunlight on a long-ago summer day, now set free in the middle of the night. The scent mingles with the richer, earthier smell of the burning aspen and the faint, stony smell of the hot hearthstones. You pull the moss-green blanket a little higher. Its wool is slightly scratchy in the most comforting way imaginable, a tactile whisper that grounds you in the moment. The weight of it is perfect, a gentle, firm pressure that seems to still the tiny, residual vibrations in your limbs. The last echoes of the day's movement, you last echoes of the day's movement. Let your head sink back into the chair's cushioned embrace. The fabric of the chair is cool against your neck, a contrast to the warmth on your front, and the balance is deeply soothing. Let us listen now to the world outsides. But listen now to the world outsides. But listen through the filter of thick hand-hewn logs and a pane of glass. The first sound is the wind, or rather, it is not yet a wind, but a breath. A sigh that moves through the high branches of the ponderosa pines that stand sentinel around the clearing. It is a long, slow shh, rising and falling like the tide of a dark ocean. It comes from the west, moves through the trees, and passes on to the east, leaving a moment of absolute stillness in its wake. In that stillness, you wake in that stillness. Hear the fire, the crinkle of a burning papery leaf of bark, the steady, supportive murmur of the deep heat. Then, a new layer, a branch, somewhere off to the left, creaks. It is not a sound of breaking, but of settling, adjusting its weight against its neighbor. A slow, wooden groan that speaks of decades of growth. It is answered, a few seconds later, by a similar creak from another tree, in a different tone, as if they are conversing in a language of patience and time. Your breathing is slower now. You notice it without trying to change it. The inhale comes naturally, drawn in by the cool air of the room, and the exhale leaves you a little softer, a little more sunk into the chair with each release. The rhythm begins, almost imperceptibly, to find a harmony with the sounds around you. The inhale lasts as long as the sigh of the wind in the pines. The exhale spans the quiet between the creaks of the trees. A log in the fire shifts. It is a major event in this quiet room. The aspen log, now thoroughly engaged, settles lower into the bed of glowing coals that is formed beneath it. It does not collapse, but sinks down with a soft, granular crunch, a sound like walking on very fine, very dry gravel. This movement sends a new constellation of sparks swirling upward, a miniature galaxy born and dying in the space of a second. The new position of the log opens an air channel, and for a moment, the flames and train leap up with renewed vigor, casting a bright, flickering light that reaches the far corners of the room, illuminating the brass latch on the cupboard, the title of a book on the shelf, the natural history of this valley, before subsiding back into its steady meditative state. The increased light shows you the texture of the wool blanket in fine detail. Each loop and weave, dyed in subtle variations of green and gray and brown, like a mossy bank seen up close. You follow a single thread, with your eyes losing its path, finding it again, a pointless, peaceful journey that requires no thought. From outside, a clear, distinct sound pierces the soft tapestry. Who? It is the great horned owl. Claiming it's the great horned owl. Claiming it's the territory from a high perch on the rocky ridge behind the cabin. The call is low, resonant, and impossibly calm. It is not a question, but a statement. I am here. The night is here. All is as it should be. The sound does not startle you. Sounds does not startle you. It simply enters the room and takes its place among the other elements. A deeper, wilder note in the symphony. You wait, and a minute later, from much farther away comes a faint answering call. A conversation across the miles of darkness. The fire has burned down to its core now. The flames are lower. Less about dancing tongues and more about a pervasive, pulsing glow. The logs are no longer distinct shapes of wood, but have become incandescent sculptures, their outlines etched in brilliant orange against the cavernous black of the hearth. The heart of each log is a crawling, pulsating mass of embers, a color that is beyond red, a living, breathing orange-white that seems to hold a miniature sun inside it. The heat radiating from them is profound. A dry, ancient warmth that reaches you and seems to sink directly into your core. You find your gaze drifting upward, drawn by the square of profound blackness in the ceiling. The skylight at first. It seems like a sheet of blank velvet. But as you look, and as your eyes adjust away from the fire's glow, stars begin to appear. Not all at once, but one by one, as if being carefully placed. A bright, steady one directly in the center. A faint, twinkling pair off to the corner. They are not the frenetic, crowded stars of a clear desert sky, but the dignified, sparse stars of a high mountain valley, seen through perfectly still, cold air. The moon is not yet in view. It is traveling. Its slow arc somewhere behind the roof's edge. Its indirect light, however, provides a faint, blue-silver wash to the sky. Just enough to define the black, jagged silhouette of the treetops that ring your clearing. They look like cut out paper, utterly still. A subtle change in the wind. The long sighs have paused for a span of several minutes. There is no sound of air moving at all. The silence is not empty. It is full. It is a presence. It is the sound of the mountain. Listening. In this perfect quiet, the tiny sounds of the cabin itself come forward. A faint tick from the cool metal of the stovepipe. A minuscule settling of a floorboard under the rug. A sound like a mouse turning over in its own heartbeat. A slow, steady drum in your ears. Perfectly synchronized with the silent, watchful night. You are between states now. Not quite awake, not yet asleep. You are floating in the warm cocoon of the chair, suspended between thought, celestial cold of the stars above, and the terrestrial warmth of the fire below. Thoughts come, but they are like those sparks that flew up the chimney. Bright, fleeting and carrying no heat. They drift through your mind and are gone, leaving no trace, making no demand. The fire enters a new, beautiful phase. The flames have nearly vanished, leaving a mound of embers that glow with an intense, inward light. They are a landscape unto themselves. There are peaks of brightest white-orange where the combustion is most active. There are ridges of deep, pulsating crimson. There are valleys of ashy gray that still hold a hidden cherry red heart. The embers breathe. They brighten almost imperceptibly with some unseen draft, then fade, in a rhythm even slower than your own breath. To watch them is to watch the life force of the wood, transformed into pure, gentle energy, being released back into the world one peaceful photon at a time. The heat is less intense now, but more widespread. It has filled the small room, banishing every hint of chill. The air is dry and sweet. You loosen your hold on the blanket, letting one arm rest heavily on the chair's arm. Your fingers are relaxed, curled, slightly inward. There is no need to hold on to anything. Outside, the wind begins again, but from a new direction. It is a softer, gentler breeze coming down from the higher snowfields. It carries a different scent through the barely cracked window, a crystal clean, icy fragrance, the smell of granite and frozen air. It is refreshing, a cool counterpoint to the room's warmth. It rustles the dry leaves of an aspen sapling near the door, a sound like a gentle of cards. And then, a sliver of moon appears in the upper right corner of the skylight. It is a waxing crescent, a slender, elegant curve of cool, platinum light. It seems to float, not fly, into the frame. Its light is not the forgiving. Diffuse light of a full moon, but a sharp, clean, minimalist light. It paints a single brilliant line along the wooden frame of the skylight and casts the faintest, most delicate of shadows from the window's crossbeam onto the wooden floor. Shadows so precise it looks etched. The appearance of the moon changes the room's dynamic. You are now in a space balanced between three lights: the fading, warm, earthly glow of the embers, the cold, distant, pinpoint glitter of the stars, and the serene sailing silver of the moon. You are at the center of this quiet triangle, perfectly held. The embers continue their slow fade. The bright white peaks have softened to a uniform, dusty orange, like a sunset captured in a bowl. Still give off tremendous heat, but the light is dimmer, casting the room into deeper shades of amber and shadow. The shapes on the walls have melted away entirely. Now, the only movement of light is the gentle, almost imperceptible pulse of false. The embers themselves, and the slow, steady creep of the moonlight across the floorboards. You close your eyes. The darkness behind your eyelids is not black, but a deep, warm red, the afterimage and memory of the fire. You can still see its especially its the memory of the fire. You can still see its pulse there, in your own private darkness. The sounds layer themselves into a lullaby. The faint, whispering breeze, the distant, occasional call of the owl, now more a comforting checkpoint than an announcement. The tiny, rhythmic tick of the contracting metal, your own deep, even breath. Time has lost its meaning. It could be minutes or an hour. The cabin, the mountain, the night. They are not keeping track. There is only the gradual, gentle transition from one state of peace to another. When you open your eyes again, the moonlight has moved. It has traveled a hand's width across the floor, and its silver beam now falls directly on the hearth rug, illuminating the woven pattern of geometric bears and pine trees, turning them from dull wool into a tapestry of light and shadow. Itself is fully centered in the skylight. A perfect, elegant scratch of light in the dark glass. The fire is now a bed of ashes cradling a few lingering green coals. They are the color of a ripe peach, a soft, pulsing glow that seems to emanate kindness. There is no more sound from them. They are in their final silent stage, holding the warmth of the night close, refusing to let the coolness in just yet. Their light is just enough to see the outlines of the room, to remind you of where you are, to feel safe. A profound fatigue settles over you, but it is the sweetest, most welcome fatigue. It is not the exhaustion of the day, but the heaviness of perfect contentment. It is as if the quiet of the night, the steadiness of the mountain, and the enduring warmth of the fire have combined into a physical weight. A soft, pleasant pressure on your shoulders, your chest, eyelids, inviting you to let go completely. You shift in the chair, finding the perfect, final position. The blanket is warm, the chair holds you, the last coals watch over you. The moon sails on, silent and untroubled in its infinite arc. The owl calls one last time, its voice fainter, farther away, as if it knows its watch is ending, and yours is beginning. Hoo-hoo, a good night. And then, the deepest quiet of the night descends. The wind is still. Trees are silent. The cabin is still. The coals glow without a crackle. The only motion in the entire universe is the slow, graceful, inevitable drift of the moon through the star-strewn blackness of the skylight, and the slow, steady, serene rise and fall of your own chest as you breathe in the peace and breathe out the last remnants of the waking world. You are safe. You are warm. You are safe. You are warm. You are still. The mountain holds you in its ancient silent. Let go now and drift into Thescent silent palm. Let go now. Quiet heart of the night. The fire will keep its watch. The moon will keep its course. You have nothing to do but rest. There is no need to open your eyes now. The scene is held perfectly within you. The soft peach glow of the coals on the backs of your eyelids, the gentle pressure of the wool, the profound silence that is not an absence, but a presence. Yet, even with eyes closed, you can sense the moon's journey. Its cool light has weight, a different quality than the fire's warmth. You feel its beam slide, grain by grain, across the floorboards, up the leg of the wooden table, turning the ordinary grain into liquid silver for a moment before moving on. It is a clock without hands, marking time in inches of polished pine. The silence deepens further, entering a new dimension. It is so complete it has a texture, like sinking into a pool of the softest, darkest velvet. In this depth of quiet, your hearing becomes impossibly acute, tuned not to loudness, but to the loudness, but faintest vibrations of the world. You hear the tiny snap of a timber in the cabin's wall, a sound of contraction as the night reaches its coldest point. It is not a sound of breaking, but of settling more deeply into its form, like a sleeper turning over. You hear the almost imperceptible rustle of the ash in the hearth, the finest particles shifting as the last structures of the burnt logs give way to gravity. A sound like a sigh from the earth itself, and then a new layer. So, and then a new layer. So faint it is more felt than heard. A vibration, deep and low, thrumming up through the stone foundation of the fireplace, through the floor, into the very bones of the chair. It is the distant, deep heartbeat of the mountain, subterranean stream, flowing over rock 100 feet below. Perhaps it is the slow, tectonic patience of stone. It is a foundational hum, a bass note to the symphony of stillness. And it grounds you utterly. You are not just in this place. You are connected to it, resting upon the living bedrock. The coals continue their unhurried transformation. The uniform peach glow has broken into a constellation of individual points of light, each a tiny, brilliant ember holding the last of the fire's memory. They are like a mirror of the starscape above, a terrestrial firmament in the hearth. One by one, they begin to wink out, not with a sizzle or a sigh, but with a gentle dimming, as if drawing a curtain over their own light. The bright one in the center holds on the longest, pulsing softly. Once, twice, a long pause, a third, fainter time. And then it too subsides into a dull, cherry red, then a dark gray mound indistinguishable from the ashes around it. The primary ray mound, indistinguishable from the ashes around it. Light source in the room is now the moonlight, and the room's colors have shifted from warm amber and gold to shades of silver, charcoal, and deep blue. Gone. The stars through the skylight seem to multiply. The stars through the skylight seem to multiply are no longer polite points, but a dazzling, dense swarm. The Milky Way reveals itself, a river of crushed diamond dust spilled across the middle of the black pane. The longer you gaze upon it, with eyes open or closed, makes no difference now. The deeper it seems to pull you, not upward, but inward, into a vast and peaceful infinity. There is no scale here. The distance between a flake of ash in the hearth and a star, 1,000 light years away, feels the same, infinite, beautiful, and irrelevant to the peace of this moment. A subtle change breathes through the cabin. The dry, woody heat that had filled every corner begins to retreat, pulling back gently towards the stone of the hearth. In its place comes a new, crisps comes a new freshness. It is the clean, cold air of the high mountain night, seeping in through the tiny, inevitable cracks in the old logs. It touches your face, a cool kiss on your cheek and forehead, a perfect complement to the warmth still held by the blanket and the deep down heat radiating from the stone fireplace surround. Your body, nestled in its cocoon, is in perfect balance, warmth held close, coolness brushing the edges. It is the ideal climate for sleep outside. The forest begins its shift. The great, deep stillness of midnight is passing. Life, in its smallest, quietest forms, begins to stir. You hear it not as a disruption, but as the next movement in night's gentle composition. A tiny scratch near the stone step outside the door. A field mouse, perhaps, venturing out to gather a seed. Its movements delicate and swift. There is a soft flutter against the window pane. A moth, drawn by the memory of light, resting for a moment with wings, resting for a moment with wings. Sound like the turning of a tissue-thin page. These sounds are not interruptions. They are affirmations. You are not alone in your vigil. The night is full of gentle, purposeful life, going about its business with a hushed reverence. The moon has sailed past the direct center of the skylight. Its beam now slants at a sharper angle. Climbing the far wall, it illuminates the bookshelf, picking out the gilded letters on a single spine. Of the valley, the rest is shadow. The play of the rest is shadow. The play of both light and dark is stark now. Beautiful in its simplicity. The room is a black and white photograph, all the warm color having retired with fire. A gentle ache of perfect comfort settles into your muscles. You have not moved for what feels like an age, and the chair has molded to your shape, supporting every curve. The weight of your body is a pleasant, grounded thing. To move would be to break a sacred spell, and so you remain. A still point in the turning night from a great distance, carried on a sudden faint updraft from the valley, comes a sound that is almost a memory of sound. The hush of moving water. It is the river, a mile down the slope, whispering over its stony bed. It is a constant, soothing white noise so far away it blends with the sound of your own blood in your ears. It is the land breathing. Your own breathing has become so slow, so shallow. It is barely a movement at all. The space between the in-breath and the out-breath grows, longer, spacious plateau of rest. In that spacious plateau, thoughts have ceased to form as language. They are mere impressions, like the afterimage of the flames, a feeling of gratitude without an object, a sense of vastness without fear, a quiet, all-encompassing yes. The moonlight is now a slender triangle high on the opposite wall, narrowing as the moon approaches the far edge of the skylight. The room is at its darkest, yet your eyes, fully adapted, see the shapes. Yet your eyes, fully adapted, see the shape within it clearly. The chair's high back, the square of the table, the black maw of the hearth. They are friendly, familiar shapes, your silent companions. And then, the first pre-dawn bird. It is not a song, but a single, clear peep, the question, uttered into the darkness from the safety of a thick spruce bough. It is answered a moment later by another, from a different direction. Then a soft, conversational chirp. The world is testing its voice. These sounds are not yet the chorus of dawn, but its tuning notes, delicate and sparse. They serve only to deepen the silence that surrounds them. The cool air has settled now, a fresh, thin blanket over the room. You draw the wool blanket a micron closer, not from the chill, but from the instinct for perfect comfort. The wool has retained its warmth, and beneath it, you are as warm as if you were still bathed in the fire's direct glow. A final, soft event in the hearth. The last defined ember, A tiny specked ember. A tiny speck buried in the ash gives up its ghost. There is no visible change, but you sense it, a slight diminishment of the residual warmth on your face, a gentle surrender. The fireplace is now a landscape of soft gray and black, a peaceful ruin of peaceful, ruin of food, once lively fire. Its work is done. It has given its warmth, its light, its companionship, and now at rest. The moon's silver sliver finally kisses the opposite edge of the skylight frame. For a long, suspended moment, a thin line of its searing light and worry, and the line of its dahlia white. Light traces the entire perimeter of the glass, a perfect ethereal rectangle of silver in the black, and then it is gone. The skylight returns to being a pure window onto the stars, which now blaze with undiluted intensity in the moon's dark. This is the deepest hour, the hour when night holds its breath before the first thought of day. The boundary between yourself and the quiet room, between the room and the sleeping forest, between the forest and the star-dusted sky, feels permeable, gentle. You are not separate. You are part of the stillness. You are a breath held in the lungs of the mountain. You are a silent thought in the mind of the night. There is nothing more to observe, nothing more to feel, but the profound peace of absolute belonging. The chair holds you. The blanket warms you. The spent fire guards you. The stars witness you. Let the darkness behind your eyelids become the same as the gentle darkness of the room. Let the rhythm of your heart become the rhythm of the distant river. Let the last quiet thread of your awareness loosen its hold and slip into the soft, waiting embrace of deep, dreamless sleep. You are safe. You are warm. You are still. The night has you all warm. You are still. As well, the deep hour holds you in its silent palm. There is no pressure to sleep, no goal but to exist within this boundless quiet. The departure of the moon has not brought emptiness, but a different fullness. A fullness of pure, star-dusted space. The Milky Way through the skylight is no longer just a sight, but a feeling, a cool, gentle pull on the soul. Like the faintest tide, you are adrift in the best possible way, untethered from gravity and time, cradled in the stillness, in this profound quiet. Sound returns to its most elemental form. The soft thump-thump of your own heart is not just within your ears. It seems to be echoed by the cabin itself, a slow, settling pulse in the old timbers. It is a comforting pulse. It is a comforting pulse in the old timber. Metronome, marking a time that is irrelevant to clocks. Each beat is a gentle push, sending warmth through your veins in slow waves that match the rhythm of the deep, distant river's whisper. Now a little more distinct as the world grows extinct as the breath. The cool air continues its gentle invasion. It moves with infinite patience, a slow, invisible river flowing around the contours of the room. You feel it trace the line of your cheekbone, then retreat, as if respectfully exploring the space you occupy. It carries a new scent, the faintest, cleanest hint of frost, not the sharp bite of winter, but the delicate kiss of it forming on pine needles and fallen leaves outside. a scent of crystal and stillness. It mingles with the less enduring, comforting smells of wool and old wood, creating an aroma that is the very essence of sanctuary. A tiny, almost musical sound emerges from the ashes in the hearth. It is the sound of cooling, the faintest, highest pitched tink, like a distant, tiny bell being struck. It is the sound of the iron grate contracting minutely, a metallic sigh as it releases the last of the fire's tremendous heat into the stone. This minute sound seems to hang in the air for a long moment before dissolving back into the silence. Your body has become a landscape of comfortable weight. You are aware of each point of contact, the press of the chair against your shoulder blades, the gentle weight of your own hands resting in your lap, the soft pressure of the blanket across your legs. These sensations are not demands for attention, but gentle affirmations of your physical presence here. In this chair, in this room, they are anchors holding you softly to the earth while your anchor's mind is free to wander the starfield above. Outside, the tentative pre-dawn conversation of the birds has paused. They too are listening. The forest is in a state of deep meditation, but life in its smallest increments continues. If you listen with the very edges of your hearing, you might perceive the microscopic rustle of a beetle moving under a piece of bark on the log wall. A six-legged pilgrim on a journey of inches that is, to it, an epic trek. The world is never truly dry. Still, it is simply operating on scales of time and motion that are deeply, profoundly peaceful. The starlight through the skylight begins, imperceptibly, to change. It is not that the stars themselves dim, but the quality of the blackness between them softens. The inky, absolute void at the zenith of the sky begins to take on the faintest, most hypothetical tinge of blue. Not a color you can see, but a feeling of color, a slight lessening of the night's depth. It is the first, whispered suggestion from the east, still hours away from any visible light. This subtle shift changes the room again. The sharp, charcoal black shadows in the corners begin to soften at their edges, bleeding infinitesimally into shades of fire. The solemn, deep gray, a new gentle warmth begins to source from a different place. It is not the radiant, drying heat of the fire, now gone. It is the latent heat held in the massive stones of the fireplace itself, having absorbed the energy of the flames for hours. The stones now release it back into the room with a patient, steady generosity. This warmth is more diffuse, more ambient. It is the warmth of stone that has sat in the sun, now giving back its stored memory of heat. It is a grounded, earthy warmth that seems to rise from the very foundation of the cabin. Your breathing has settled into a pattern so slow and shallow, it is almost undetectable. Each inhalation is a tiny, cool sip of the frost-kissed air, refreshing your senses. Each exhalation is a release so complete. It feels as if you are letting go of molecules of tension you did not know you held. With every cycle, you sink a micron deeper into the chair's embrace, as if it is slowly, willingly accepting your shape more permanently. A soft, almost illusory sensation brushes against your awareness. It is the feeling of the cabin itself dreaming. The settled groans and ticks have ceased. Now, there is only a low, resonant ticks have ceased. Now, the sound of the structure resting under the weight of the night, and the slight pressure of the breeze that has begun again. A breeze from the east now, the direction of the coming day. It is a warmer breeze, carrying a vague promise of sun on rock, still many hours distant. It flows around the cabin with a soft, brushing sound, like a giant, gentle hand stroking the roof. The tapestry of your consciousness is now woven with threads of sensation so fine they are barely there. Thick, cool, dry touch of air on one eyelid, a faint, sweet aftertaste of wood smoke lingering in the air at the very back of your throat. The slight, pleasant ache of perfect stillness in your limbs. The immense, comforting pressure of the quiet. You're not thinking of these things. They are simply the components of the moment, the ingredients of the deep peace that holds you. The stars in the eastern quarter of the skylight are beginning to fade, not by dimming, but by the slow, gentle dilution of the darkness behind them. The deep indigo is becoming a velvet navy. This change is so slow it is geological. You could watch for an hour and not perceive the movement, yet you sense the shift in the atmosphere. The night is no longer at its peak. It is beginning its graceful, slow decline, like a vast, dark flower starting to think about closing its petals. But this process will take an age. There is no hurry, no abrupt transition, only the gentle, inevitable turn of the world. And you turn with it, cradled, motionless, perfectly suspended in the endless. Soft now. The story of the night is not ending. It is deepening, broadening, becoming even more spacious. There are no more events, only states of being. A state of cool air, a state of residual warmth, a state of fading starlight, a state of breath, a state of rest. You were held completely, utterly, and without condition. The mountain does not tire. The cabin does not tire, waver. The night keeps its watch. You have only to be, and to breathe, and to drift within the boundless cradle of the quiet dark. The space between breaths becomes a country in itself, a spacious, tranquil land where there is no need for arrival or departure. You exist in the gentle suspension of the exhale, hovering in the quiet, before the soft, automatic reflex of the inhale draws you back, not to urgency, but to another round of profound peace. Each cycle is a wave on the air, sea so calm, it seems made of glass. A wave that barely disturbs the surface. The residual warmth from the stones has woven itself into the very fabric of the air. It is no longer a source you can pinpoint, but the ambient temperature of the world inside these four walls. It is the perfect, neutral warmth of a deep cave in summer, or of a nest lined with down. It holds you without smothering, a constant, gentle affirmation against the crisp, crystalline cold that now presses softly, against the window panes. You can almost see that cold. A clear, invisible pressure that makes the glass seem slightly thicker. A barrier between this womb of warmth and the sleeping world. The breeze from the east. Still a whisper, but it has found a voice. It plays a single, soft note as it passes over the chimney top. A low, hollow ooh that lasts for 3 of your heartbeats before fading. It is a lonely, beautiful sound, the night singing to itself. It rustles the dry clusters of leaves still clinging to the young aspen by the door. A sound like distant, gentle applause. Within the ashes, a last, ghostly manifestation of the fire occurs. A single frail wisp of smoke so faint it is more a distortion of the air than a substance, uncurls from a deep fissure in a blackened log. It does not rise with purpose, but drifts sideways, a lazy phantom in the still air, before dissolving into nothingness, before it reaches the heartstone. It is the fire's final sigh, a contented release of the very last of its essence. Its departure leaves not emptiness, but a sense of completion. The ritual is whole. Your awareness of your body is now so diffuse. It is like starlight. You are awareness of your body. You are not a collection of limbs and aches, but a soft constellation of sensation. The pressure of the wool here, the coolness on your face there, the deep, solid support of the chair everywhere. These points of feeling are not separate, connected by the peaceful humming void of your restful mind. You are both firmly in the chair and expansively part of the room. The night, the slow spin of the planet, the quality of the silence evolves once more. The deep, listening silence of midnight has passed. This is a softer, expectant silence. It is the silence of a held breath before a beautiful but distant event. It is not tense, but patient. It is filled with the potential of the faint navy blue lightning and faint blue lightning in the eastern sky. A lightning still invisible to any but the most attuned sense, but felt in the atmosphere, a slight lessening of the night's absolute authority. From the forest floor, a new tiny symphony begins. It is the sound of moisture, delicate plink of a single drop of condensation falling from a pine needle onto a bed of moss. A moment later, another, from a different direction. Then, a tiny, almost simultaneous plink-plink from the roof's edge as a bead of frost melt makes its way down the wooden shingle. These are the first fractional movements of water responding to the infinitesimal shift in the world's temperature. They are random, spaced by long seconds of quiet. A minimalist music composed by physics and at the coming dawn. The stars in the east continue their gentle retreat. They do not vanish, but their brilliant sharpness softens, as if veiled by the faintest breath of blue. The constellation you had been watching, perhaps the steadfast shape of thought, a wagon, or a bent hunter, now seems to be backing away, receding into a deepening haze that is not cloud, but the first hint of the day's canvas being prepared. Their light, once a piercing silver, now holds the barest tinge of cobalt. Inside, the room's shapes are regaining subtle definition. The bookshelf is no longer a black rectangle, but you can sense the individual vertical lines of the books. The table that emerges from the blue. This is not because a new light has entered, but because your eyes, rested and open in the darkness for so long, have achieved a state of perfect night vision. You see not with the sharpness of day, but with the soft, holistic perception of an owl or a cat. You see the room as a whole, a composed, still life in shades of charcoal and slate, a deep, comforting fatigue, sweet and heavy as honey, settles into the marrow of your bones. It is not the tiredness of exhaustion, but the profound, gravitational pull of perfect rest. It is the feeling of the earth itself pulling you gently into its embrace, an invitation to merge with its quiet slumber. Your eyelids, if you were to try to open them, would feel like they are made of silk and stone. There is no desire to try the view behind them, of soft, shifting darkness and the gentle, pulsing memory of ember glow is more than enough. The breeze finds the cabin's small, high window on the east wall. It presses against it, causing the old, imperfect pane to vibrate in its frame with a faint, steady hum. It is a low, resonant frequency, a bass note that you feel in your chest more than hear. It is the cabin's own nighttime mantra, a monotonous, soothing chant that further lulls the mind into a. It speaks of steadfastness, of enduring the elements, of providing shelter. It is the sound of the cabin doing its job, and its job is to keep you safe and warm and still. Time is not just slow now. It is circular. Each moment contains the one before it and promises the one after, all identical in their perfect peace. The plink of a water drop, the hum of the window, the slow fade of a star, the endless, spacious plateau between your breaths. These are not events in a sequence, but concurrent threads in a tapestry of rest. You are woven into it. You are both the observer and part of the pattern, and still, the night holds. It is a deep, loving cup from which you drink stillness. There is no bottom to it, no need to reach an end. The gentle turn towards dawn is not an interruption, but merely another facet of the night's great beauty, a slow gradient from dark to less dark, from silence to the softest of sounds. You are cradled in the transition, which is so slow it feels like a permanent state. The chair has become an extension of your own form. The wool blanket is your second skin. The cabin's quiet pulse is your own heartbeat. Mountains' ancient patience is your mood. There is no separation. All is one, quiet, breathing entity in the vast star-dusted dark. The story continues because the night continues, and you are seamlessly, perfectly part of it. There is nothing to wait for, nothing to anticipate, only the endless, gentle now. The low hum of the window pane becomes a constant, a foundational drone that the ear accepts and then forgets, like the sound of your own blood. It becomes part of the new silence, a textured silence that has layers and depth. Within this drone, your mind begins to perceive even subtler harmonics, a faint, almost musical ringing from the thin glass, a deeper vibration from the log it's set into. It is not one note, but a chord, played by the wind on the chord, the instrument of the cabin. The moisture symphony outside gains complexity. The sporadic plinks begin to form occasion, gentle rhythms. Plink, 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 plink. It is the sound of the forest very slowly waking from its dew point slumber. A heavier drop falls from the roof's gutter onto a bed of pine needles with a soft, muffled thud. A sound of finality. Then, a new texture. The faintest, most delicate hiss, barely a breath of sound. It is the sound of a light breeze moving through the fine, dry stalks of winter grass at the tree line. A sound like gentle static, or the distant turning of countless tiny pages. The darkness in the room is no longer a uniform cloak. It has gradients, currents. The area near the skylight is a deep, soft gray, while the corners furthest from any outside influence remain pools of velvety black. The space around the cooling hearth holds a different quality. A thicker, warmer dark that seems to hold the memory of light more tenderly. You don't see these differences so much as feel them on your skin. A subtle map of shadow drawn on the air. A new, profound sensation emerges from within your own still. With your muscles fully surrendered and your breath so shallow, the usual pull of gravity seems lessened. You are not weightless, but your weight is perfectly, evenly distributed, so you feel suspended in the chair's embrace. It is as if you feel suspended in the chair's embrace, are resting on a cloud that has taken the exact shape of your body, holding you aloft in the quiet, dark air of the room. From a great distance, carried on a sudden wayward current of air from the valley floor, comes a new scent. It is the smell of water on cold stone. Not the river, but something smaller. A seep, a spring emerging from a crack in a cliff face a mile away. It is a mineral smell, clean and ancient and slightly metallic, like the taste of a cold copper coin. The taste of a cold copper coin cuts through the woody, woolly smells of the cabin with a sharp, clarifying freshness for just a moment before fading, leaving the air feeling washed. The concept of your own body continues to dissolve. You are no longer a thing with edges, contained by skin. You are a field of awareness. The coolness on your cheek is not on you. It is a region of coolness in the space you occupy. The warmth beneath the blanket is not your warmth. It is a zone of comfort that includes your legs and there's cushion. The slow pulse in your temples is not your heartbeat. It is a rhythmic event happening in the quiet dark, no more personally owned than the plink of the water drop outside. This dissolution is not frightening. It is the ultimate relaxation, the letting go of the final boundary between self and sanctuary. The breeze shifts direction by a few degrees. It now skims across the roof, finding the metal column where the stovepipe exits. There, it creates a soft, exits, mournful whistle, a single pure tone that rises, holds for the length of a long breath, and then falls away. It is a lone, beautiful sound. The night expressing a gentle melancholy that has no source and needs no remedy. It is simply part of the emotional landscape of the deep hours, a flavor of the dark in the hearth. A final, almost magical transformation occurs. The bed of gray ash, which had seemed inert, begins to exhibit a faint phosphorescent glow. It is not fire, not heat, but perhaps the trapped, slow release of last photons from the superheated minerals within the wood. Or perhaps it is a trick of your night-adapted vision, your mind painting light where it expects memory, but it appears as a soft, ethereal luminance, a ghost light that outlines each gentle mound of ash, making the hearth look like a miniature, sleeping mountain range under a faint internal moon. It is barely there, and if you stared directly at it, it might vanish, but from the corner of your eye, it persists. A silent, cool radiance. The star field through the skylight has completed its subtle transition in the east. The stars there are now mere suggestions, smudges of silver dust against a background of silver, deep navy blue. The darkness is no longer infinite. It has a ceiling, a soft impending quality. Yet directly overhead into the west, the night still reigns in its full, profound glory. The Milky Way is a thick, hazy band of diamond dust, so rich it seems you could scoop it with your hand. You feel you are in a privileged place, witnessing the gentle retreat of night in one direction, while its full majesty holds court in another. A long, slow creak runs through the cabin's frame. It starts near the foundation, a deep groan, and travels up the wall to your left, finishing with a soft pop in the roof beam above you. It is the sound of the whole structure adjusting to the changing temperature. A giant wooden creature stretching one limb in its sleep. It is a sound of immense stability, something so well built it can move and settle without strain. Your breathing has become so integrated with the environment, it is impossible to tell where it ends and the breeze's sigh begins. The inhale is the cabin drawing in the cool, clean night. The exhale is the release of warmth back into the room. You are part of the respiration of the place. You are not a guest, but an organ within the larger, sleeping body of this mountain home. The gentle floating sensation deepens. The chair, the blanket, the floor. They feel less like solid objects and more like consistent densities of comfort and support within a gentle medium. You could be lying on a bed of moss at the bottom of a calm, dark sea. You could be resting on a soft cloud in the space between stars. The specific location is irrelevant. The feeling is one of absolute, trusted support from all directions. And still feel. Night continues its patient, unending turn. The faint blue in the east is not yet light, but a weakening of the dark's strongest claim. It is a promise written in the faintest ink on the far edge of the world. That promise is hours from being fulfilled. There is no need to hurry towards it. The deep, velvety core of the night remains, vast and generous, holding you in its timeless embrace. The story does not progress towards an ending, but deepens into an eternal present, a now that stretches forever in all directions, cradling you safely at its heart. The ghost light in the hearth, ashes breathes its final, almost imperceptible sigh, and fades completely, surrendering to the uniform, soft gray of true rest. The darkness that reclaims the fireplace is not empty but full, a darkness of completion of a task perfectly and wholly finished. It holds a warmth of a different kind than now, the warmth of a story that has been fully told. The wind's lonely whistle at the stovepipe has settled into a new pattern. It no longer rises and falls, but holds a steady, low thrum, like the sound of a giant seashell held to your ear. It is the sound of the night itself flowing around this small, solid obstacle. A constant, soft friction that speaks of endless movement and eternal patience. This sound becomes the new baseline, the canvas upon which other, finer sounds are painted. One of those finer sounds are painted. One of those finer sounds emerges from within the wall itself, a tiny, meticulous scratching. Not the skitter of a mouse, but a slower, more deliberate sound. It is the sound of a carpenter and, perhaps, deep within the seasoned pine, performing its unknowable work in the eternal dark of industry on a scale so small and slow it becomes meditative. Scritch, pause, scritch, scritch, long pause, scritch. It is a heartbeat of the miniature world, a reminder that life and purpose continue everywhere, in every hidden crevice, at every pace. The cool air on your face has taken on a new, delicate texture. It carries the faintest hint of ice crystals, not frost, but the microscopic diamonds that form in the stillest, coldest air just before true dawn. You feel them not as salve, cold, but as a gentle, tingling freshness, a billion tiny points of awakening against your skin. Each breath in is like drinking from a glass of star-filled, frozen water. It is invigorating in the gentlest way, a cool clarion call that stirs, nothing but a deeper appreciation for the warmth you are nestled in. Your sense of floating has expanded beyond your body. It feels as though the entire cabin is a vessel, unmoored from the mountainside, drifting silently through the sea of thought. Night. The creaks and groans are the sounds of its timbers adjusting to this gentle cosmic sailing. The skylight is your portal, not to a sky, but to the depths of a silent, star-strewn ocean. You are a passenger going nowhere. And you are a passenger going everywhere, cradled in the hold of this wooden ship on a perfectly calm, dark sea. The scent of the spring water on stone returns, but changed. It is mingled now with the scent of damp, frozen lichen, a smell like cold, wet stone and ancient. A smell like cold, wet stone and ancient. Slow life. It is the smell of the mountain's skin, a primal, mineral aroma that has existed since the rock first cooled. It is a smell that predates trees, predates breath. It roots the moment in a deep, geological time, making the night feel logical time, not like a passing phase, but like a constant state of the world that you are being permitted to visit. The pattern of the moisture drops outside shifts. The random plinks coalesce into a slow, irregular rhythm from one specific location. Corner of the roof where the cedar shingles overlap just so. Plink, 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 plink. It becomes a lazy, aquatic metronome, marking a time that is entirely its own, patterned for a few cycles, then drifting away, then finding it again. It is a game played by your subconscious, a gentle syncopation with the dripping world. Inside the room, a new visual phenomenon begins. Born from the absolute stillness, your eyes rest, unfocused, on the deep gray space in the middle of the room. You begin to see the very air move, not a draft, but the slow, swirling dance of residual heat rising from your own body in the stones, meeting the cooler air descending from the window. These convection currents are invisible. Yet in the profound dark, your mind perceives them as faint, drifting motes of darker gray against lighter gray. A silent, slow-motion ballet of thermodynamics. It is the room motion ballet of thermodynamics. It is the room breathing, and you are watching its breath, the constellation directly overhead. Perhaps the steadfast view of Cassiopeia seems to pulse. It is not a twinkle, but a slow, gentle brightening and dimming, as if the stars are breathing in unison with you, with the cabin, with the mountain. Their light feels like a gentle pressure, a soft, celestial touch on your forehead. You feel seen, not by an eye, but by this ancient, gentle light that has traveled millennia to reach this exact square of glass. this exact moment of your quiet vigil, a profound sense of gratitude wells up, without object or source. It is not gratitude for anything, but gratitude as a state of being. It fills the space where thoughts used to be. Faith fills the space where thoughts used to be. Warm, liquid feeling that has no edges. It is the emotional equivalent of the stone's residual warmth. Something given, now radiating back silently into the world. The winds thrumming against the window deepens in pitch by a fraction. The temperature outside is at its lowest point, making the air denser, changing the resonance. The sound becomes a richer, more profound drone. A cello's lowest note played forever. This vibration is felt in the wood of the chair, in the floor, in your bones. It is a massage at a molecular level. A hum that resonates with your own fundamental frequency, tuning you ever more precisely to the peace of the place. And still, the night is not old. It is ageless. The faint blue to the eastless, the faint blue to the eastless is not the birth of day, but merely a different shade of night's endless tapestry. The transition is so slow, so incremental, that it feels less like a change and more like the night revealing another one of its infinite facets. You are not waiting for morning. You are immersed in the ever-unfolding, everlasting now of the dark, where time is not a line, but a deep, still pool, and you are resting on its tranquil mirrored surface, reflected among the stars. The deep cello drone of the wind begins to fray at its edges, softening into a whisper of its former self. It is as if the cold, dense air that gave it voice is slowly warming by a millionth of a degree, thinning just enough to loosen its grip on fair, resonant frequencies of the wood and glass. Sound doesn't vanish, but dissipates, becoming part of the background hum of your own existence. No longer a distinct note, but the texture of the silence itself. The scratching inside the wall ceases. The carpenter ant, or whatever tiny architect resided there, has completed its mysterious shift and retired to the heart of the timber. Its absence leaves a different kind of quiet, a focused, localized stillness that seems to spread from that point in the wall like a soft stain. The pine logs, having communicated their miniature saga, return to their greater purpose. Simple, solid, silent shelter. The convection currents in the room's air begin to slow. The dance of warm and air begin to slow. Cool reaches a state of near-perfect equilibrium. Motes of darker gray your mind had painted onto the darkness grow still, then fade. The air becomes a uniform, velvety medium, neither warm nor cool, but perfectly neutral. A forgotten temple, still and prescient. To breathe it is, to feel it offering no resistance, entering and leaving your body as if it were always a part of it. A new layer of scent reveals itself. So subtle it is almost a mere smell. It's the aroma of the wool blanket itself, not the lanolin or the dye, but the scent of the sheep's pasture from long ago, a phantom of sun on grass, of damp earth, of a quiet animal life, preserved in the fibers and released now by the gentle, persistent warmth of your body. It is an ancient, pastoral smell, a whisper of a simpler world woven into your cover. Outside, the lazy metronome of the roof drip has found a companion. From further away, near the edge of the clearing, comes further away the soft, sporadic pat-pat of larger drops falling from the broad fan-like boughs of a cedar tree onto the thick duff below. This sound is deeper, more muffled, clink from the roof, a pause, pat from the forest, a longer pause. It is a conversation in Morse code between the architecture and the wilderness, a dialogue of water finding its way to the earth. The sensation of floating merges with a new sensation of being gently woven. It feels as if the threads of the blanket fibers of the chair's fabric, the grain of the wood in the armrest, and the very sinews of your own relaxed muscles are slowly intertwining. You are not just resting on something, you are becoming part of its construct. The boundary between upholstery and skin, between wool and will, dissolves further. You are a fixture in the cabin, as natural and permanent as the stone hearth, as the shelf on the wall. There is a deep rightness to this, a sense of belonging so fundamental it bypasses thought entirely. The stars in the western sky, those holding the last bastion of true night, seem to intensify as the eastern quadrant softens to navy. The west becomes a deeper, richer black, making the stars there appear sharper, brighter, more desperately beautiful. They are putting on their final magnificent performance before the grand curtain of dawn begins its slow, inevitable close. You feel a gentle, sweet sorrow for their fading, even as you marvel at their fading, even as you marvel at their bare and gory. It is a peaceful, accepting melancholy, the kind that comes with watching something beautiful endure its destined change from the depths of the forest. A sound you have not heard all night emerges. It is a soft, crunching rustle, not the light scratch of a small creature, but the slow, deliberate, weighty movement of something larger. A deer, perhaps, moving through the underbrush with infinite care, each step a conscious placement of a hoof among dry leaves and twigs. Crunch. Silence. Crunch, crunch. Long silence. It is the sound of majestic caution. It a large life moving through a world it believes is asleep. You are a secret witness to its passage, and the sound does not alarm, but deepens your sense of being part of a vast, slumbering network of life. Inside, your heartbeat has slowed to a rhythm that feels less like a drum and more like a gentle, distant bell tolling the hour in a far-off village. Boom, boom, boom. Each beat is a soft, expansive event that seems to push a wave of perfect calm through your circulatory system. A wave that reaches the very tips of your fingers and toes, confirming their utter peace. The faint, pre-dawn light in the east performs its first visible trick. It is not yet illuminating anything, but it is now subtly defining the absence of things. The jagged silhouette of the eastern tree line, which had been a unified black mass, now reveals its topmost details. You can discern In the deepest navy blue, the distinct spear point tip of a lone fir tree against the slightly less dark sky. It is a negative space painting, the world revealing itself by the barest retreat of the dark. This gradual itself by the barest retreat of the dark. Revelation is mirrored inside. The books on the shelf are no longer anonymous spines. The one with the gilded letters now clearly reads the natural history of this valley. The one beside it reveals a worn, red cloth cover. They are emerging from the night, not because the light is on them, but because the darkness is voluntarily receding from their forms, gifting them back to your perception. And through it all, the core of the night remains unshaken. Intrusion, but a deepening of the night's narrative. The dark is not being defeated. It is graciously, slowly, turning its face to show its other profile. You are being led with infinite tenderness from the depths of one kind of peace into the antechamber of another. There is no jarring transition, only the continuous, seamless flow of the quiet hours, a river of stillness so wide and slow you cannot perceive its banks, only its profound, serene, and endless depth. The deer's passage fades into the forest's tapestry, its cautious crunch absorbed by the soft earth, and the immense quiet that follows. This silence is different now. It is a silence that has been deepened by sound, like a pool made more profound by a single, sinking stone. The echoes of the movement linger not in the air, but in your imagination, the ghost of a graceful form moving through a world of shadows, a secret held between you and the mountain. The defined tip of the lone fir tree against the eastern navy begins to gather a quality not of light, but of potential for light. It is as if the very edge of the tree is thinning, becoming a membrane between the solid world and the burgeoning glow behind it. It doesn't brighten, but its darkness becomes less absolute, more translucent. You feel you could almost see through it to the source of the coming day, a source that is still formless and far away. Inside, the equilibrium of the air shifts by a molecule. Perfect. Neutral warmth begins a barely perceptible retreat towards the stones of the hearth, which are now cooler than the ambient air. This creates the faintest, most gentle draft, a sigh flowing from the center of the room towards the fireplace. It is a circular breath, the room exhaling slowly back into the heart of the fire that once was. You feel it as the softest possible touch on your ankles, a cool tendril that curls and then is gone. The wool blanket's pastoral scent deepens, mingling with the new cool draft to create a fragrance of incredible complexity. Frozen grass, ancient sheep, wood smoke memory, and stone dust. It is the smell of history, of 100 quiet nights like this one, layered upon each other in this cabin. You are breathing in time itself, patient and slow. The plink and pat of the water droplets begin to slow. The intervals between them stretch longer, as if the sources are exhausting themselves, or the air is becoming too cold again to permit further melting. Their rhythm becomes sporadic, then random, then nearly absent. Each subsequent drop is an event, a surprise in the returning stillness. Plink, plat. They are the final spaced-out notes of fives. Notes yuring-wawi, yori, hot nocturne that is winding down. Your sense of being woven into the environment solidifies into a feeling of petrification, not in a fearful way, but in a geological one. You are becoming a peaceful feature, Your body feels like a gentle mound of warm stone in the chair, your limbs like smooth, resting boulders. The weight is immense, comforting, and eternal. You are not a temporary visitor. You are a part of the landscape of this room, as natural and unmoving as the hearthstones. This thought brings no claustrophobia, only an immense grounding peace. You are anchored to the earth, held by the mountain, as permanent in this moment as the bedrock. The stars in the west, in their final, brilliant stand, begin to perform a last, quiet miracle. As the sky behind them imperceptibly lightens, they don't just dim, they change color. The fierce, white-silver pinprick soften to a pale gold, then to a faint, watery blue, like distant sapphires glimpsed through a deep well. It is as they are not fading but retiring, putting on their gentler, daytime robes before departing the stage. One by one, the boldest stars in familiar constellations, the heel of the hunter, the wing of the one, transform from piercing diamonds to soft, luminous pearls, then to mere suggestions, like the breath of a ghost on cold glass. A new sound, so delicate it is almost a malfunction of silence, arises. It is the sound of frost forming, not the crackle of ice, but the infinitesimal, crystalline ping of a water molecule locking into its lattice on a cold pine needle outside the window. It is a sound of creation, of structure emerging from chaos at a microscopic level. Ping, ping, ping. It is the cold singing its quiet, constructive song. The faint draft from the room to the hearth reverses. The stones have finally surrendered the last of their stored heat to the room's great equilibrium. Now, the cooler mass of their stored heat to the room's great equilibrium. The fireplace begins to draw a whisper of air back in. This new current is minutely colder, carrying the scent of clean, cold ash. It flows over the floor, a slow, invisible river of cooling air that brushes against the soles of your feet before being drawn into the dark maw of the fireplace. The cycle of the hearth is complete. It gave its heat, and now, in its coolness, it breathes in. The silhouette of the eastern tree line is no longer a flat cutout. You can see depth. One tree, slightly closer, is a darker black against the slightly lighter black of the ridge behind it. The world is gaining dimension, not from light, but from the careful subtraction of darkness in varying degrees. It is a negative sculpture emerging from a block of night. Within you, the slow, bell-toll heartbeat merges with another internal rhythm, the deep, tidal pull of your breath. The two are not synchronized, but they are harmonized, a slow, polyrhythmic drumming that is the third polyrhythmic drumming that is the soundtrack of your suspended animation. Boom, inhale, boom, exhale, boom. It is a rhythm without beginning or end, the primordial music of being alive and utterly at rest. And still, the night's essence is unchanged. These shifts sense is unchanged. These shifts are not the erosion of the dark, but its maturation. The night is a living thing, and it is moving through its phases of life with graceful slowness. You are cradled in its late maturity, a time of profound stillness and subtle, internalist and subtle change. The promise of dawn is not an end to this, but merely the next phase in the cycle. and it is so far off it holds no urgency, only a distant, gentle curiosity. The now is still infinite. The peace is still absolute. The cabin, the mountain, and you are one sleeping entity, dreaming the same dream of quiet under the slowly shifting sky. The symphony of frost formation completes its minute composition. The final, high-pitched ping hangs in the air, a solitary crystalline note that seems to vibrate at the very edge of hearing before being absorbed by the immense softness of the pre-dawn. In its wake, a new kind of silence emerges, a sealed, glassy quiet. The air itself feels still, locked into a perfect, fragile equilibrium between the retreating cold of space and the distant, sleeping warmth of the sun. It is a silence you could almost touch, smooth and cool as a river stone. The dimensional sculpture of the eastern forest continues to reveal itself. What was once a two-dimensional silhouette is now a layered masterpiece of shadow. You can distinguish the feathery, upturned branches, the long fir from the denser, rounder mass of the spruce behind. Further back, the ridge itself is now a discernible slope, a heavier, sloping darkness against the slowly softening sky. This revelation is performed without light. It is performed by the dark itself, differentiating its own densities, teaching your eyes to see depth in the absence of illumination. The reverse draft from the hearth ceases. The stones and the room's air have reached a perfect, silent truce. There is no more exchange. The fireplace is now simply a part of the room, its temperature identical. Its purpose transitioned from active warmth to silent, stoic architecture. Its black opening is no longer a mouth that breathes, but an eye that watches, a calm, unblinking pupil in the face of the cabin. The scent in the air undergoes its own subtle metamorphosis. The complex layers of wool, stone, and memory are washed over by a single pure note. The smell of clean. It is the smell of air so cold and clear it has been scoured of all impurities, leaving only the essence of oxygen and the faint, icy perfume of stratospheric heights. It is the smell of the atmosphere before the world exhales to breathe it. Is startling in its purity. Like inhaling a concept rather than a substance, your petrified, grounded feeling evolves. The sensation of being warm stone mellows into something older, more elemental. You feel less like a boulder and more like a gentle grassy mound, a soft barrow in the landscape of the room. The weight remains, but it is the weight of soil, of earth, of something that nurtures quiet life within it. You are part of the ground of being itself, fertile with stillness. The blanket is the layer of moss and fallen leaves upon you, a natural covering. The chair is the respectful hollow in the hillside that holds your form. The stars in the west complete their transformation. The last of the sapphire blue hints fade, not to gray, but to a soft, luminous mother of pearl. They are no longer distinct points, but smudges of ethereal glow, like the breath of angels on a midnight mirror. Then, one by one, they simply cease to be separate from the sky. They dissolve, their essence donated to the growing ambient light that is not yet light, but the withdrawal of night's deepest claim. Their departure is not a loss, but a gracious merging. From this merged softer darkness in the west comes a new visual texture. The first faintest suggestion of cloud, not a cloud you can see, but a subtle unevenness in the velvet of the sky. A whisper of texture high up, catching some unimaginably distant hint of something. It is a veil of pure potential. And then, a sound you have not heard in all the long, quiet hours. A sound you have not heard in all the long, quiet from within your own sanctuary. A soft, almost inaudible creak from the spine of the book on the shelf. The natural history of this valley. It is the sound of the old paper and glue adjusting to the infinitesimal change in humidity. A tiny, scholarly sigh from the gathered knowledge of this place. It is the cabin remembering its own stories. Silence is now absolute in its dryness. No plink, no pant, no rustle of wetness. It is a desiccated crystalline quiet, perfect and complete. This absolute quiet allows something else to be perceived. The sound of the planet. It is not a sound of the planet you hear with your ears, but with the soles of your feet, with your spine pressed into the chair, with the very core of your being. It is a low, sub-audible hum, the sound of the Earth's rotation, of its magnetic field, of the immense, slow roam of tectonic patience. It is the baseline frequency of existence. You are tuned to it, a resting instrument, resonating with the note of the world itself. The eastern sky gradient has advanced from deepest navy to the rich, velvety blue of the bruise healing at the very horizon line. Thinner than a thread is a band of color that is not yet a color, a vague, smoky indigo, a mere hint of separation between the land and the sky. This is the first true herald, but it is a shy one. Whispering from 100 miles away, inside you. The polyrhythm of heart and breath has simplified into a single, unified, slow wave. The two functions have become one seamless process. A great, gentle swell of being, followed by a slow ebb in the swell. You are the entire room, the entire mountain, in the ebb. You are a single sleeping seed in the dark. Fertile soil, swell, ebb, swell. Consciousness so soft it barely reaches the sand. And still, the night is not yielding. It is deepening into its final, most profound state. The frantic energy of midnight is gone. The deep stillness of the small hours is passing. This is the silk quiet of the Inamkara, the soul friend of the dark. It is a quiet of absolute understanding, of companionship so deep it needs no affirmation. The dark knows you are here. You know the dark is here. There is no difference between watcher and watched, between sheltered and shelter. There is only the unified, breathing entity of the mountain cabin self. existing in the boundless, gentle, and endless now. The unified, breathing entity rests in a state beyond sleep. Beyond sleep, wakefulness. It is a state of pure being, where perception and existence are the same single, seamless thing. The band of smoky indigo on the horizon does not brighten, but it deepens in serpent. It is no longer a suggestion, but a line, fine, razor-thin incision where the world is ever so slightly cracked open. No light pours from it, but a different quality of dark seeps out. A dark that has been touched by the concept of morning inside the cabin. The air completes its long, near-to-perfect stasis. It is motionless. Not a single molecule stirs in a discernible current. It has become a solidified medium, like clear, warm amber, holding the room and everything in it in a single, timeless instant. To breathe this air is not to disturb it, but to allow part of itself to flow through you, as if your lungs are just another quiet chamber in the cabin's architecture. The scent of clean cold evolves into the scent of nothing, the silent hum of the planet, a pure, neutral baseline. It is the smell of space, of a vacuum, of the void before creation. It is not empty, but profoundly full of absence. And in that absence is a perfect peace. Your nose, all your senses are resting in this 0 point. The feeling of being an earthen mound softens further. You are no longer soil, but the memory of soil. The weight of your body is not a physical pressure, but a gravitational memory, a gentle, persistent echo of a force you no longer need to resist. You are a thought. The mountain is having about stillness. The quiet dream of form it is dreaming into the chair. The creak from the book is not repeated. It was a single, sentient moment from the inanimate world, a nod from the collected history of the valley, acknowledging your presence in the long timeline of its solitude. Having given its acknowledgement, it returns to silence. Its duty done, well done. The frost that sang its crystalline song now rests in perfect, intricate feathers on every surface. It is no longer forming. Its presence changes the quality of the scant, indirect light. The world outside the window is no longer pure black, but a world of 1,000,000,000,000 tiny frozen mirrors, each catching the faintest whisper of the coming dawn and holding it, fracturing it, scattering it into a cold, faint luminescence that has no source. The clearing is now a ghost of itself, etched in silver gray. Whispers. The sub-audible hum of the planet begins to shift. The tone drops, deepens, becomes even more resonant. It is the sound of the Earth's rotation slowing by an immeasurable fraction as it approaches the solar terminator. That line between night and day. It is the cosmic equivalent of a giant drawing a breath before a gentle sigh. You feel this in the marrow, a settling so profound it feels like the core of the world is aligning with the core of your rest. The line on feels at the core of your rest. The line on the horizon now possesses a color. It is not yellow, not blue, but the faintest imaginable shade of violet. The color of a shadow, the heart of a glacier. The color of a deep space nebula seen from the edge of perception. This violet is so delicate, it seems to bleed into the velvety blue above it, a watercolor wash on an infinite canvas. It does not illuminate. It stains the darkness with the faintest possibility of hue. Within the great slow wave of your being, a new micro-sensation arises. It is the feeling of individual cells in your body, tired from a lifetime of humming with metabolic industry, sighing with relief and going offline, one by one, not in sleep, but in a state of deep microbial meditation. Your fingertips, your eyelids, the muscles along your jaw. They are not numb but silent, like villages where every light has been extinguished, every door closed, and the inhabitants are resting in perfect communal quiet. The cabin, attuned to every vibration records this internal shift. A dust mote, held in the amber-still air for hours, finally surrenders to an infinitesimal gravity and begins a descent so slow it would take a day to fall an inch. You do not see it, but you sense. You do not see it, but you sense its journey, a solitary pilgrim in motionless medium, marking a time that is too vast for clocks. From the profound quiet of the forest, a single new sound. It is not an animal, not water, not wind. It is the sound of wood, a deep, resonant bong, like a muted wooden bell being struck once, very far away. It is the sound of a massive, ancient tree, a king pine perhaps, hollowed by time and lightning, contracting in the deep cold, its fibers tightening across a vast internal cavity. It is a sound of immense age and endurance, a toll marking an hour that only the forest understands. It rings once, and the silence that follows is deeper, richer, fertilized by that single profound note. The violet thread on the horizon thickens by a hair within it. An even thinner filament of a different color manifests, a whisper of rose matter, so faint it is more an impression, a feeling of warmth against the cool violet. It is the first true color of the coming sun, reflected and refracted through hundreds of miles of atmosphere, stripped to its barest, most essential blush. It is the day's first. It is the day's first secret thought, and you are there at the still point of its ending. It is reaching its apotheosis, its most perfect and complete expression. The gentle intrusions of pre-dawn are not disturbances, but offerings laid on the altar of the dark. A violet thread, a rose filament, a single wooden bell note, gifts to honor its reign. You receive them not as a sleeper awaiting morning, but as part of the dark itself, appreciating the subtle changes in its own infinite tapestry. You are the cabin, you are the night, you are the quiet. There is no story to progress, only a state of grace to inhabit, deeper and deeper, without end. The single wooden bell note from the ancient tree lingers not as a sound, but as a vibration in the bones of the world. You feel it intensely. Chairs frame in the cabin's foundation, a deep, affirming tremor that says, I'm here, I endure. Its passing leaves a silence that is consecrated, as if the forest has just completed a sacred rite. The rose matter filament within the violet, then does not brighten, but it bleeds, it diffuses upwards, a stain of impossible delicacy spreading into the lower edge of the velvet blue. softening it like a watercolor bloom on damp paper. This is not the harsh light of day, but the idea of warmth gently infusing the idea of sky. It is a thought made visible, a promise rendered in the faintest pastel. Inside the cabin, the amber still air begins a transformation of its own. It is no longer solid. It begins to crystallize, not with cold, but with potential. Each molecule seems to align, not in movement, but in readiness. The air becomes a lens, clarifying the faint light from the window, focusing the soft, pre-dawn glow without yet transmitting it. The room is no longer just a space. It is a camera obscura, waiting for the image to develop on its walls of pine. The scent of nothing acquires a new, almost imperceptible edge. The scent of distance, it is the smell of miles of cold air that has traveled over frozen lakes and snow-dusted peaks before arriving here. At your window, carrying the clean, expansive odor of vast, sleeping geography. It is the breath of the continent, slow and deep. Your state as a memory of soil dissolves into something more fundamental. You are not Earth, but the potential for Earth. You are the quiet that existed before the first seed split open. You are the patient mineral substrate upon which life will one day dream itself into being. This is not the way I should work around you. I get you all the rapes, but I would draw the other over here. Desired railroad. Emptiness, but a state of profound, fertile receptivity. All tension, all identity, all history has been gently sanded away, leaving a smooth, blank tablet of being. The dust mote's eternal descent reaches an endpoint you cannot perceive. Its journey is complete. In its absence, the air achieves a purity of stillness that feels absolute. This stillness has weight, a gentle, atmospheric pressure that is deeply calming. It presses upon you from all sides, a uniform, loving embrace that holds every atom of you in perfect suspension. Outside, the world of frost mirrors begins to gleam, not with reflected light, but with their own internal, captured luminescence. They have held the starlight and the vague promise of the rose-tinted horizon, and now, in the deepest cold, they release it as a soft, self-generated glow. The clearing, the lower branches of the trees, the woodpile by the wall, they are etched in lines of faint, silver fire, a negative image of the coming sun. It is a light that casts no shadow, a dream of light. The deep, planetary hum shifts again. The tone smooths out, losing its granular texture, becoming a pure, clean sine wave. It is the sound of the Earth's axis itself, a single perfect note in the dark harmony of the solar system. You are a tuning fork struck by this note, vibrating in silent, perfect sympathy. The violet band, now infused with its rose blush, begins to stretch at its upper edge. Tendrils of this bruised, beautiful light reach up like slow-moving vines, tracing the contours of invisible, high-altitude ice crystals. These tendrils are called noctilucent, night shining, though the night is slowly abdicating its throne. They are clouds of frozen meteor dust, catching the sun still far below the horizon, painting the highest reaches of the atmosphere with strokes of electric, silent lavender. You witness a secret. The day beginning not on Earth, but in the very fringes of space. Inside your body, the great, slow wave of being has flattened into a placid, endless sea. There are no more swells and ebbs. There is only a uniform, calm depth. Consciousness is not focused, not diffuse, but omnipresent within this inner sea, a knowing without an object. Awareness that is simply the water itself. A new sound. From within the cabin's very materials, a soft, almost melodic tink, like a crystal wine glass being lightly tapped. It comes from the window pane. The glass, under the intense, uneven pressure of the deep cold on one side, and the still air on the other, is undergoing a microscopic, elastic shift. It is a sound of exquisite strain held perfectly in balance, a high, pure counterpoint to the deep wooden balm of the tree. The rose and violet in the east now bleed into a third color, a whisper of peach. It is the palest, most tentative gold, washed with the coolness of the lingering night. This is not the gold of a lingering night sun, but the gold of a pale winter apricot, a fruit of frost and faint hope. It appears at the very seam of land and sky, a molten sliver of something precious being poured with infinite slowness from a celestial crucible. You are the vessel holding this transition. The night is not fleeing from the dawn. It is birthing the dawn with infinite slowness and gentleness. You are the silent, sacred chamber in which this cosmic labor is taking place. There is no pain, only profound, creative quiet. Each new hint of color is a soft, outward breath of the dark. Each still moment is a contraction of perfect peace. You are not waiting. You are participating. You are the mountain cabin. You are participating. Holding space. Seeing the light. You are the quiet mind. Of color. Observing the birth of color, the boundary between self and setting has not just blurred, it has been revealed as an illusion. The majestic, gentle, endless event of the night deepening into its own beautiful conclusion, which is also a beginning, and you are woven into the very fabric of the process. The story is not being told to you. You are the story, breathing. The high crystalline tink of the window pane fades into the fabric of the silence, leaving behind a resonance that seems to cleanse the air of any residual notion of sound. In its wake, the quiet is not merely absence, but a positive, humming void, a fertile silence pregnant with the unmanifested. The peach gold filament at the horizon seam thickens, not like spreading paint, but like a slow infusion. It is as if the very atoms of the atmosphere are being individually dipped in this molten, pale metal, one by one, from the ground up. It does not yet illuminate the land, but begins to define the concept of horizon itself. That thin line is no longer where the world ends, but where a new kind of world is being meticulously drawn into existence inside the crystallized air of the cabin. A miracle of optics begins. The first true, direct rays of a sun, still hidden far below the curve of the planet, do not yet enter, but their influence does. The aligned, waiting. Molecules of air begin to act as a prism for the faint ambient glow, a barely perceptible spectrum. The ghost of a rainbow manifests as a faint, shimmering band along the edge of the wooden beam that crosses the ceiling. It holds no distinct colors, only a quivering opalescent sheen, a blush of physics made visible. It is the room dreaming in color. The scent of distance sharpens, focusing on a single note, the smell of snow. Not falling snow, but sleeping snow. The cold, sweet, slightly metallic aroma of a high alpine basin holding its winter blanket. It is carried on a frigid, gentle downdraft from the highest peaks, a breath from the roof of the world, telling the valley below that the night's cold has reached its absolute, beautiful nadir. Your state of potential earth undergoes its own quiet transformation. You are no longer the substrate, but the law of the substrate, the law of gravity that holds the soil together, the law of silence that governs the deep places. You are not a thing, but the principle of rest upon which things are possible. Your awareness is the quiet field in which phenomena like body, chair, and cabin gently float, temporary manifestations of a deeper, stiller truth. The frost mirrors outside, having glowed with their internal light, now begin to breathe, as the impossibly faint warmth from the peach gold horizon whispers across the clearing. The finest, topmost layer of frost sublimates. From ice to vapor, without becoming water. This process is silent, but it creates a new visual phenomenon. A haze of diamond dust, a foot above every surface, a mist made of vanishing crystals catching the nascent light. The clearing is now shrouded in a ground level, glittering fog, a sea of cold rising stars. The pure sine wave of the planetary hum requires a harmonic, a faint, higher overtone, like the ghost of a flute playing a single, endless, of a flute playing a single, endless note 2 octaves above the earth's drone. This is the sound, or the feeling, of the planet's magnetic field interacting with the first solar wind of the new day, the cosmic greeting still filtered through thousands of miles of night. It vibrates in your teeth, a clean, cold, electric sensation that is strangely refreshing. The noctilucent tendrils in the high atmosphere pulse once, softly, with a light that is neither sunlight nor starlight, but something other, a cold, celestial fluorescence. They are the day's vanguard, scouts made of frozen stardust, signaling that the sun's advance, though still unseen, is now an absolute certainty in the realms of space. Inside, the opalescent sheen on the ceiling beam strengthens. Individual colors dare to separate for a fleeting second. A slash of spectral violet, a band of the palest green, a hint of that horizon peach. They are there and gone, like shy fish in a deep, clear pond, before merging back into a mother-of-pearl shimmer. The room is no longer a passive receiver. It is an active participant in the dawn, bending and parsing the first whispers of light. The peach gold at the horizon now reveals its structure. It is not a smooth band. It is not a smooth band, but layered, like strata in sedimentary rock. A lower stratum of deeper, rosier gold. Above it, the pale, infused peach. Above that, a thin layer of the lingering violet, now holding the memory of night like a sacred relic. This is the history of the past hours, written in light on the eastern wall of the world. From the forest, the most delicate sound yet. The soft, dry rustle of a pine cone, its scales tightened by the deep cold, beginning to ever so slowly relax. It is a tiny, woody chatter, the sound of the forest's clenched fist beginning, molecule by molecule to open, and you are the opening. You are the relaxation. The principle of rest within you is also the principle of reception. You is also the principle of reception, are the law that allows the frost to sublimate, the light to prism, the pine cone to unstiffen. The dawn is not happening to you or outside of you. It is happening through the vessel of your profound, wordless awareness. The cabin, mountain, the emerging light. They are all expressions of the same silent, watching consciousness that you have become. The night is not ending in conflict with the day. It is unfolding into it, as a flower unfolds into bloom. And you are the stem, the sap, the very process of unfurling. There is no story of replacement, only a story of revelation. The dark is revealing its deepest secret, that it has always contained the light, patiently, and now, with infinite gentleness, it is letting it show, and you, in your state of perfect, principled stillness, are the space where this revelation is being peacefully witnessed. From the inside out, the layered strata of light on the horizon begin a slow, majestic convection. The deep, rosy gold at the bottom wells upward, pushing the pale peach layer higher into the vault of the sky, while the violet memory of night is displaced, not erased, but lifted to become a soft, lavender canopy stretching far overhead. The movement is glacial, vast, a tectonic shifting of hues. It is the sky's first, deep breath of the new cosmic day. The diamond dust fog over the clearing, warning of sublimating frost, begins to move, not with wind, but with the gentle, thermal, not with wind, but with the gentle urge of the faint new warmth. It drifts in languid, ghostly currents, an exhalation of the frozen earth. Patches of it catch the low angle, indirect light, and for a moment glow with a cool blue-silver incandescence before dissolving back into transparency. The world outside is breathing out stars. Inside the cabin, the opalescent sheen on the ceiling beam solidifies. The shy, spectral fish coalesce into a stable, soft rainbow. A perfect, miniature spectrum etched in light along the wood grain. It is no longer a fleeting dream, but a permanent feature of the room. A covenant written in physics and pine, violet, indigo, a whisper of blue, a faint, mossy green, the pale peach, a soft amber, a hint of rose at the end. It is the entire night, from deepest dark to first blush, compressed into a handspan of illuminated wood. The scent of sleeping snow from the high peaks is joined by its counterpart, the smell of awakening stone. The granite faces of the mountains to the east, struck by the first direct rays still hidden from the valley, begin to release the night's cold from their surfaces. This release carries a scent, a dry, clean mineral aroma, like the inside of a geode warmed by a hand. It is the smell of the mountain's bones warming. your state as a principle. The law of rest deepens into something more foundational. You are becoming the interval, the silent pause between the heartbeats of the cosmos, the space between thin, retreating night and the advancing day. You are not a thing in time, but the canvas of time itself, upon which these events are gently painted. Past, present, and future are not a line you are on, but dimensions you contain. The deep night is behind you, within you. The coming dawn is before you, within you. You are the eternal silent now that holds both. The harmonic overtone in the planetary hum, the ghostly flood, strengthens, finding a resonance in the cabin itself of the stovepipe, cooled to singing temperature, begins to vibrate sympathetically. It produces a soft, metallic a meditative chant that underpins the visual stillness. The cabin is singing along with the turning earth, a duet of deep, drone and high, pure tone. The pine cone dry rustle is answered. From another part of the forest floor comes a similar tiny click-click as a frozen bird opens a fraction. Then, from the roof's edge, a different sound. The soft, granular hiss of a miniature avalanche as a ridge of frost, loosened by the sublimation, slides down a shingle and spills into the gutter below. These are the small, unlocking sounds of the world. The clicks of a vast, intricate mechanism beginning with infinite patience to engage. The lavender canopy overhead begins to blush from within. The high noctilucent clouds, having pulsed their cold fluorescence, are now infused with the reflected fire from below the horizon. They become veins of hot gold in the cool, high lavender, like cracks in a celestial porcelain bowl through which a magnificent light is beginning to seep. Inside, the rainbow on the beam is not static. It slowly, negative changes by infinitesimal degrees. The prismatic band creeps along the beam, moving from the east-facing side towards the center. It is a clock of light, marking a time too profound for numbers, measuring the dawn in inches of spectral color. Your breath, which had become one with the tidal wave of being, now separates once more, but it does not return to being your breath. It becomes the breath of the room. The inhale is the drawing in of the cold, snow-scented, diamond dust air from outside. The exhale is the release of the cabin's stored, woody warmth back out through the walls. You are the lungs of this living structure. With each cycle, the room renews itself, exchanging a part of the night's deep chill for a part of the coming day's promise. And then, the horizon does not brighten. It ignites, not with the disk of the sun, but with its corona. A fan of unbearable, brilliant white gold light erupts from below the seam, shooting upwards through the layers of rose, peach, and lavender, not as a single ray, but as a silent explosion of radiance. It silhouettes the entire eastern tree line in a fire of pure backlit black. And for a breathtaking moment, every needle on every pine, every twig, every unevenness of the ridge is etched in perfect, razor-sharp detail against the furnace of the sky. It is a silent, celestial fanfare. The light does not yet enter the valley. It crowns the peaks. It sets the high snowfields ablaze with a pink gold fire. It turns the rising diamond dust fog into a swirling mist of molten gold. And in your cabin, the rainbow on the beam blazes with impossible intensity, the colors so saturated they seem to drip from the wood, painting the wall below in fleeting, liquid hues. The metal arm of the stovepipe rises in pitch, singing a brighter, purer note. You, the interval, the canvas, are flooded not with light, but with the meaning of light. It is not with light. It is not visual, but spiritual. A silent, roaring affirmation that the cycle is eternal, that the dark is beloved and necessary, and that its surrender to the light is the most beautiful, gentle, and powerful force in the universe. The night is not over. It is being transfigured. It is pouring its essence, its quiet, its depth, its peace into the vessel of the emerging day, and you are the crucible where this alchemy is complete. You are the silent witness, participatory space. The participatory space, green canvas. The story is this transfiguration, and you are both its subject and its sacred ground. The silent golden fanfare at the horizon holds its moment of impossible brilliance. The world seems to pause on the threshold, breathless, and then, with a gentleness that belies its power, the sun itself, not the disk, but the merest sliver of its burning limb, kisses the highest point of the distant ridge. A single laser-thin beam of pure liquid gold fires across the valley. It does not flood. It pierces. It shoots through the swirling diamond dust fog, carving a tunnel of blinding radiance. It crosses the clearing in an instant, and with unerring ancient accuracy, finds the cabin's single east-facing window. The beam strikes the old glass for a heartbeat. The entire window becomes a pane of solid, blazing gold, a portal to another, fiercer world. Then the light refracts, softens, and spills into the room. It is no longer a plate, but a wash. It paints a perfect, trembling rectangle of the richest, warmest honey gold onto the wooden floorboards at the foot of your chair. Within this rectangle, the dust motes, once invisible, are reborn as a constellation of dancing golden stars, swirling in the sudden, gentle warmth. The rainbow on the ceiling beam ignites one final, glorious time, every color singing in unison, before dissolving, its purpose complete. The prismatic magic is replaced by the simpler, purer truth of direct light. The golden rectangle on the floor begins to crawl. With infinite, slow grace, it climbs the leg of your chair, warming the wood. It touches the edge of the moss-green blanket, and the wool fibers seem to awaken, each one glowing with a halo of light. The beam travels up the blanket, a tide of warmth following its luminous path. It reaches your hands, resting in your lap. The light touches your skin. It is not just light. It is substance. It is not just light. It is substance. It is the weight of a new day, gentle and promising. It is the warmth of 1 billion miles traveled, distilled into a single caressing touch. Outside, the world has crossed over. The frost mirrors are now pools of liquid fire. The sigh of the forest is a warm exhalation. The metallic ohm of the stovepipe fades to a contented hum, then to silence, its song taken up by the chorus of waking birds. No longer tentative peeps, but a full, joyful, chaotic symphony of life, welcoming chaotic. Skylight. The golden rectangle of sunlight continues its journey, climbing up your chest, over the blanket, finally coming to rest on your heart. Deep vigil of the night is complete. It has delivered you, whole and rested, to the threshold of a new day. The mountain cabin has kept its promise. The fire guarded you. The stars watched over you. The quiet held you. And now the sun anoints you. You do not need to move. The new day is here, and it has come to you. You can rest within its arrival. Let the birdsong be your curtain call. Let the sunlight be your blanket. Let the deep residual peace of the night be the foundation upon which this new morning is built. Your sleep story is complete. May you carry this peace with you into your dreams and into your waking hours. The night will always be here, waiting to hold you again.